All right, and with that, welcome back to the Saturday Night Synthesis. I'm your host, Alex, as always in Baltimore, Maryland, as always, trying to put my brain back together after what Frederick Foxtrott brings for us here on a Saturday evening. Yeah, that was, oof, really give me catch my breath. Okay, well, this week on the Synthesis, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to really take a deep dive into one of the modules that Frederick uses a lot in his music. It's called the Rebel Technology Stoicheia. I think I'm saying that right. And in just a few minutes, we're going to be talking about how that was used in that song to produce, I believe the magic word for this week is Euclidean rhythms. Euclidean rhythms. So if you had that on your bingo card of words you never thought someone would say, you just won. But before I do that, if you out there on the internet have any questions about the patches that Frederick uses in his music, just put something in the comments of this episode on the YouTube, and we'll answer it. If you have any questions about the equipment, same thing. And a lot of those are going to be links to more information on that in the episode details. And while you're there mucking about on your YouTube screen, why don't you like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel? If we get 936 more subscribers, they will tell us that we've been very good boys. And I don't know you, but my ego could sure use that. So also, if you like the show, follow us on Instagram. The handle is at Saturday Night Synthesis, all one word. It's a lot of typing. And you'll get clips from the episodes, maybe some behind the scenes stuff, and a glimpse into our techno dystopian future. All that can be yours. One last thing. We're putting out to all the fans of the show out there on the internet, what do you want to hear more of? Any kind of genres, any kind of themes, anything like that, any kind of pieces of gear, let us know. Tell us about it in the episode comments, and we are probably going to do it because we have to think of these ideas ourselves. So anyway, we've got a good audience here tonight. What about you? Jamie? Jamie's here from Chicago. Jamie, what kind of themes or genres do you like? What do you want to hear again on the Synthesis?
Oh, me? I love, you know what I love? I love that synthwave vibe. That's what I'm into. I love that new disco. That's what I appreciate. Your Roosevelts, who else? Your Chromios, that sort of thing. I love that sort of vibes. I like, that's the sound I like. And this one, I love what you just played.
I'm gonna.
I'm all over the map though, so I listen to all the things. Yeah.
We listen to some Babe Ruth next time. We just all found out about that.
Yeah, that record should be arriving pretty soon, actually.
Oh, great! I think you should have like a little unboxing from Discogs.
Okay,
unboxing.
I will. We could do the.
I've actually listened to a lot of it. It is dope.
I'm saving it. I want to hear it all on. I only heard the song that Tim played, and
you're gonna be happy.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
No, it's really good. Well, and before we do anything else, talk a little bit more about the song, the music. I would be remiss not to introduce you to the man, the myth, the legend, coming to you via a series of tubes from semi-permanent exile in Long Island, New York. Frederick Foxtrott. Frederick, what kind of themes and genres are you looking forward to on future episodes of The Synthesis?
I want to know.
Also, that song is amazing.
Thank you.
Blown off my britches.
So that's the thing. I mean, so much of like writing for this. I wonder if I've ever even talked about this. The idea that like every week it's like you come to the synthesizers and you're like, what am I going to do? Like what am I going to produce? And sometimes it's like really tough to get something out that you think would be interesting for other people. In a weird way, there is a kind of id quality to this, right? Like that's the id of the moment. That was what I was doing unconstrained by anything else because I don't have time. I don't know, especially this week. I had a really busy week, so I was just like really, and then all of a sudden that riff hit, and then it just like, I like anytime a riff that is like awesome hook hits, that's what I like. I really don't have any, it's like, please, give me something. But yeah, that is what I'm into.
Well, you were talking about, it was interesting because you were talking about you're doing something on that song that you're saying that Dan Deacon does. And I was like, oh, I can hear that because, that's kind of my limited experience with this kind of music. I started listening to Dan Deacon. They play him on the radio in Baltimore all the time. The mod we're kind of talking about this week, when you featured it a lot in this song, I was like, yep, that sounds like a Frederick Foxtrott sound to me. Like there's something about it that instantly takes me to your music. And so I'm kind of interested to hear more about what it does, just to learn more about what it is that you play.
Yeah, it's the Dan Deacon kind of component is the glide, and maybe I should even, just for a brief second, I'll
Yeah, that when you played that, I was like, yep, that
right,
takes
exactly,
me to all that stuff.
Yeah. The rig is such a kind of, it doesn't have a lot in it, but every module on my rack is used a lot, and it's so kind of fundamental to, there's not a lot of fat, so to speak, and sometimes people are wondering, why is that module there? So for instance, the Stoicheia is often used for to trigger drum sounds, because it's a rhythmic thing. One output will be put towards like a snare, and one will be put towards a kick or something like that. And I use it usually for modulation, so I'll use it for atypical things. There's something also to be said for having a limited amount of tools and then to try and see how much you can get out of it. Speaking of getting something in the mail, actually, Jamie, I got this new toy, like for Christmas. I bought myself a new toy. It's the hologram microcosm. It's a guitar pedal, but like I mentioned before, guitar pedals, it's really just an effect pedal. So you would put synths behind it or anything, and it's basically like an ambient music maker's dream. So we'll have an unboxing for that as well. Just gonna kind of flag that for a minute. We'll have a whole video that's just the unboxing and looking at it, because I'm really excited.
Well, I'm looking forward to that. Well, the people who like to watch people unboxings on the internet are going to be looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's one. I feel kind of hacky because there's like 50, or 15 rather, videos that are just like this from when it came out, and of course all the professional musicians and YouTubers. I think Hologram gave them an upfront copy, and so that's already out there. But we're going to try and see how we can incorporate it into this rig, yeah, I'm super excited about that.
I'm really looking forward to it, actually. Just to kind of ground floor, see what all the buttons do. Speaking of what all the buttons do, the Stoicheia, the Rebel Technologies module you're talking about today, we're talking about Euclidean rhythms and how it works into your sound. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, why don't I do this? I'm going to kind of show you, because I want to kind of show you what I mean by having atypical modules. I got a comment the other day on a video that was like, oh, interesting choice of modules. Some things don't seem like they belong to one another. And of course, I still have yet to do a whole rig kind of rundown. And that needs to happen. So here is the Stoicheia, okay, the Rebel technology. And like I said, a lot of times it's used to trigger drum modules. So oftentimes you'll have drum modules that are literally just, it has a kick sound, and a snare sound, maybe a hi-hat, and then it has inputs so that you can have CV or triggers that then allow it to express. And this has two sides. I am taking a gate . Yeah. So you see how it's just pretty even? It's very even keeled. There's a gate coming right here, which every time the sequencer's going, it's putting out a gate. Pop, 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 pop. And that equal time interval is the gate. And so every time one of these pops, you're going to see a gate coming. So I have that coming into the Stoicheia, and then I can change it so that I can spread the same amount of pulses within different longer and shorter time spans. And then I can take that, and as like I said, I modulate it. So that's just modulating the resonance. So that's, I just have that really exaggerated so you can hear it. That's the, and then of course that's halftime, and full time is. So that one coming here. And then I have this one right here working through. See, it doesn't have that really good effect, but what I want to do and I could use this for anything. I can use it for. Now I'm using it to modulate the LFO. Then I could take the LFO . I need to do another patch, here we'll do this. A little Stranger Things. Okay, so one of the things that often happens is you'll want to change the resonance and the cutoff, the filter, so that it has a sense of movement, like this. Come back, right? A sense of movement. But of course, I can't be doing that all day, right? I can't be using my hands to twiddle those knobs all day long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this LFO and I'm going to have it push that filter. So now it's doing it for me, and I don't have to worry about that. But let's say I wanted to go over here. So what I'm doing right here is this first knob is the beat. This is the first top, is it's actually coming in on the beat. right? The modulation. This one right here gives me basically eight steps, right? And this one tells me how many pulses it will emit within those 8 steps. I'm not sure exactly how many this goes. I know this is 0 to 8 at the center, and then it is 8 to 16 all the way. So and it's also worth mentioning that this is now all one oscillator making this sound. And oftentimes what you'll hear when you use this is it takes that one oscillator and puts a pulse to give it momentary cutoff or momentary resonance, which in a weird way almost makes it sound like there's more, like 3 or 2 oscillators going on at the same time. So it's not really that it's not that really complicated of a module, but it's really awesome. I mean, I could if I were doing something else like right here. Let's say, for instance, I want to take that sound, and so what I'll oftentimes do exactly how it, well, maybe I. So yeah, I guess I'll leave it there, but maybe I'll actually take some questions, or if I haven't been clear on something, because I certainly, for the listeners at home, I want to make sure that, you know, maybe if there's anything that I maybe rushed through, that we can go back and, you know, if not, that's fine. But you know, I really think that what's really great about this is that the way it puts rhythm outside of what's going on with the drum machine. Because I think sometimes you're listening to the drum machine and you're doing your loop. And of course, we all know what happens when you have a similar thing playing over and over again. One of two things really happens. Either it becomes very rhythmic and you kind of get entranced, or it becomes very boring really quick. And one of the ways to kind of, you know, switch things up and keep things interesting is to provide another source of rhythm that is kind of interacting or is playing off it's related to the drum machine. The drum machine is not doing everything. It's not having to do all the heavy lifting for the rhythm of the song. and it allows you to just, have some variation that I think is really important. Maybe I'll stop there, and I can ask if there's anyone who has a question or maybe wants to see something that I can kind of show for them.
Well, I thought it was really, when you're talking about how, the module turns the gate, which I'm learning about synthesizers, it turns it into the gate, into Euclidean rhythm. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean? But then watching you play it, I'm like, oh, okay. And then how that factors into the sound is when you were at one of those patches you were pulling in and out, you could just hear the kind of that Euclidean rhythm that you put in, that like the over the main beat of the song, which is, and it was interesting to listen to it and know that's what it is, and then listen to you pull it away and bring it back, because you're like, yeah, because that adds that over the beat, this really rhythmically really interesting thing, like you're saying, it keeps
the listener's mind moving, and it in the manual of the module, you'll see different positions, and then it will tell you, like, one is, like, the first one's a calypso, right? Or I don't know if that's calypso or not, but the point being, like, the idea being that it has different kind of, like, rhythms in mind that generally come from, a lot of Spanish stuff, a lot of non-Western, like, drum styles. And Euclidean rhythms are, a lot of people, like, they're not the only people who make this. I know that Mutable Instruments has settings on, I think, plates or braids maybe, that also has Euclidean rhythms. But anyways, so the whole point is just you're taking the same amount of pulses and you're redistributing it out into the space, but it always is keeping it in time with whatever pulse you're giving it. It doesn't allow it to get out of time, but it will syncopate and do polyrhythmic sounds rather than keep just following that pulse.
Yeah, and it's not like random. It doesn't give you.
It's not random, right?
It doesn't sound like there's something random or kind of algorithm based. So it sounds kind of. It maintains like a musical sound.
I think technically,
you don't get the. Not that the other things aren't musical, but but it's still in that the ear hears it that way.
Right. I think there actually is an algorithm chip that is doing the deciding, that's interacting with the knobs. And it also, when you're playing live, like I always say, I mentioned this in one of the prior episodes, you're playing and you're like, okay, what's going to happen if I push that knob left? You're like, you think you're like, okay, that's going to lengthen the amount of time I have, or that's going to add more beats or add more pulses to the modulation or whatever I'm doing with it. But you never know exactly how many, and there's not like numbers. It's like little hash marks, yeah, anyways. I was watching a Earth Modular Society show the other day, and they were talking about, one of the speakers was talking about what he should do with LFOs, and I typed in the chat, I was like, LFOs are my extra hands, but LFOs is like combined with the Stoicheia is really great, because you're not, oftentimes an LFO, it will just go, will rise and fall in very even ways. And with the Stoicheia, you can have it rise and then drop and to a pulse. So I think that, like, more complicated waveforms for LFOs are possible with the Stoicheia. And I don't know, I'm not really satisfied. Not to bust anyone's chops out there who have made like a Stoicheia, like a tutorial, and I'm not going to say that what I just did was any better, but there's really not a satisfying tutorial online, I haven't found anyways, that really shows all the things that the Stoicheia can do. It's really just very straightforward as putting out rhythmic pulses instead of what I think it does best, which is aid in modulation in very interesting ways.
It really kind of blows my mind how you can use the same part of the same instrument in all these different ways and get all these different sounds. Now, someone in the audience, Jamie, you had a question about the module or the music?
Ja, ich habe Fragen. Ja, okay. Ich habe 3 Fragen. Yeah. I have 3 questions for you. We can take them one at a time or all at once, whatever you'd like. I think they're all pretty good questions, too. I think you're going to like these.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm trying to think of German for let's go.
Los geht's.
V Gates? Yeah, I don't know.
However,
yeah.
okay, so so the combination of the oscillator approach that you just took with the Stoia makes an effect that I have traditionally referred to, and I think I'm hearing it probably traditionally referred to as flange.
Yes, flange. Yes.
Okay, is flange that, or is flange a loose term for something approaching what you were doing there, or is that like spot on what it is, and that's flange, and we just call it that because it's like less complicated than explaining 3 oscillators and 2, whatever.
So it's very different. Flange is going to be, essentially, this is the sound of flange. So flange is in line with like sometimes it's a little more like chorus or maybe a phase effect, where you're basically taking a couple of signals, like how phase and flange, they are very different, and there are different approaches to making a similar sound. A flanger, like my flanger, I have the Subdecay Starlight Mark II, Make 2 rather, and it uses an LFO, a low frequency oscillator, to make the rise and fall of the flange effect of the wow.
That C sharp,
right. I'm not sure if all flange effects use LFOs or not, but I know that a lot of them do, and a lot of pedal these days will have a knob that will say LFO, and they're doing the same thing, basically using that LFO to push an effect, to push the flange, or to push some parameter of the effect. So in some ways that is similar, but oftentimes I think what maybe people mistake as flange is when you're hearing 2 signals that, you know what, here's a really good, maybe when people hear 2 signals that are on top of each other, but the LFOs that are controlling them are not in sync. Does that make sense?
Out of phase? Is that
yeah,
an
they're out of phase
situation?
Right. So this is a perfect example. Okay. So that's just one oscillator, and now I'm going to add a second oscillator to it.
There's a hint at overtones and things of that nature.
Right, now if I take... It's not a very good answer to the question, but the thing is that no, they're not the same. But what is going on in them? There is a similar thing that is happening where when you hear two signals that are identical, that have an LFO working on them in different that are not locked in sync, they're going to sound a little bit out of phase and produce that effect, which is similar to flange or similar to phase or similar even to chorus. But that's not an intended effect. That's a added bonus to what's happening, and it's not something that I would call I have put a flange effect on it. But
Gotcha.
I totally understand what you're saying when you hear that similarity for sure.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for the explanation.
Yeah.
My second question was regarding the if you take a look at most digital keyboards, they'll have 2 rollers, right? They'll have 2 rollers on the side.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
Like one's a octave up or down
That's
roller,
correct.
right?
Yeah.
And the other is usually a pitch modulation or something like that, or pitch modulation. And now, when the first song you played tonight, you had some really cool, like some super fast rises going up in the pitch. on the main melody.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering, how do you control that? It almost sounded as though the pitch increase was randomized, or that there was some sort of fluctuation on the top of it that made it sound organic. It made it sound played like live.
Right. So
In each cycle, and I was wondering how you did that.
it's this is when I was talking about Dan Deacon. That's kind of what I was talking about, which is it's this thing called glide, which if you have a note, let's say, so that's the
Yep.
right. So
Those
that's
are exactly the things I'm
right.
talking about. Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
what I did is when you have a glide on, okay, what? So you'll hear this, right? Let's get that a little bit more snappy. So when I go between two notes, I'm gonna kind of go back to the. When I have two notes, right? It immediately goes to the next one, right? Boom, 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 boom. Or even when you go, let's go all the way across the octave, right? Now what glide
My
does?
Sharona, baby.
What glide does is it when you push one tone, right? When you push the next one, it doesn't get there immediately. It goes whoop, like one of those straw instruments, right? So I'm going to add some glide to it now. You'll hear a huge difference. Because you're having the notes, it glide up there. Sometimes you're, as a listener, you'll pick up that center note. Was that the sound you were hearing? Was that glide?
It was the glide up about once per measure that sort of landed real quick at the top, and then
Right.
it sounded as though you were manually. It sounded as though it was, and maybe this is just an artifact of, and a cool side effect of analog synth is that it's not a digital, it's not a digital signal, and it can sound different, slightly different between measures. If you were to play the main theme of your first song, I could identify it, and maybe we can do that post notes.
Here's the deal. I'm not sure if I even saved it.
While you're working on that, I can ask you my third question too,
Now,
which is
we'll
why are you so cute?
Why am I so cute?
Yeah.
Well,
and that's it. Thank you, everyone. I love you.
yeah, and excellent questions. You know what? I think it's because my mom is a beautiful woman who aged really and ages very gracefully, and so I feel like I got a little bit of her magic on that front. So. Yeah, I don't know.
That's a very good
and by the
answer.
way,
Nice,
That's
nice.
a very
Mom
good
magic.
answer.
Mom magic.
and
I
that
like
was the wrong
Try
answer.
to buy that pedal, huh?
That was the wrong answer. The right answer is, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't really feel that cute. But thank you for telling me. It makes me feel better about myself. Yeah. So yeah. That's the. We're not going to be able to find the. Just because I don't want to spend another 5 minutes looking for it. When I did the Stranger Things, I kind of went off to another patch, and I'm sure I saved what I had, but I just.
Another thing you're thinking, Frederick, was throwing it out to the audience for the show is about. It was really funny listening to you talk about your sickness for purchasing modules.
Oh yes. Okay. Yeah. That's a great. No. Great.
Like real quick, are there, Jamie, what are you things that you like? Everyone's got to compulsively buy something. Like Frederick was telling me about, he's just, he's traded that straight crack for like the methadone of just buying records. But
yeah. Right.
You know what I'm on right now? I'm on that network equipment. I'm about to be buying that network area storage. So
yeah. Yes. NAS. Yeah. It's so good. I'm so happy you're doing that. It changed everything, so everything's
Yeah.
great. Getting back to what Alex was talking about regarding this idea of, what I call the sickness, which is those of us in the modular kind of or synthesizer community, you will save and you will scrimp and you will do everything you can to get that next modular, that next module. Or that next, but guitar pedals is another big one. I think gear in general and music is like this, but there's something specific to guitar pedals and modular synthesis that really lends itself to this, because every module has its own unique quality, and when you use a lot of the same modules, some people they feel like, oh, it sounds the same, and next thing you know is they hear a new module and like, oh, I need to add that into my rig, and next thing you know you have a whole wall full of different sounds, which I think is great. I happen to really lean into the idea that I have these sounds that are similar, and it kind of, it makes my sound. I think it's really my kind of style is very much it leans into that kind of having not a whole lot of modules. But anyways, one of the things I wanted to ask the listeners is that what modules have I been missing, because I was so fortunate to about a year and a half ago I filled up my rack. And so once you fill up a rack, it's like you feel a sense of relief because now it's complete, and I haven't really thought about it since. And so if I get a new rack, which I'm thinking about doing soon, then it's like all this anxiety comes back of how to fill it, right? And it's this mission to fill it. So I'm wondering if there's any modules that you're all listening to that have come out in the past year and a half that I need to kind of check out. Or if there's any, and for those of you who don't collect modules, what is your sickness? What is, I'm also like Alex said, I kind of sublimated that passion of modules and effect pedals into like vinyl records. I'm a big vinyl record collector now over the past couple years. So I don't know. I just I'm curious what other people think about the sickness and what is their affliction, and to kind of put it in the comment section and let us know.
Yeah, and please put it in the comment section. And I think that's going to be it for us tonight. Thank you for joining us. I thought I had a great time. Thanks to Frederick for all the amazing music. Thanks to everyone in the audience. Thanks to Jamie for asking us great questions and helping us out. Don't forget to, should live in the comment section of this episode. You should tell us what themes and genres you want to listen to. You can tell us questions about the gear, things that you compulsively buy, your social security number, all sorts of things. Just get it off your chest. Put it in the comments. If you want details about the Rebel technology, and Frederick, how do you pronounce it correctly? I'm not even going to try. Stoicheia. If you want details about the Rebel technology Stoicheia, any of the pedals or other gear we mentioned this one, check it out in the episode details. There's going to be links. There's going to be descriptions, links to the Instagram page. Yeah, anything else you want to look. Don't forget to like and subscribe, or I will cry. Well, joke's on you. I'm going to cry tonight anyway, like every night. Anyway, thanks, Internet. See you next time.
Fuck it, we'll do it live. We'll do it live. I don't give a fuck.